Howdy, and welcome to Voyagers Path, Episode 1, where we believe you should be defined by the vision of your future rather than the memories of your past. Being that this is our very first episode, we're going to first dive into what Voyagers Path is about. Here we're going to have guests on and learn from them the mistakes they've made, the good choices they've made. And we're going to share with our viewers those same choices and decisions that we've made that helped us become who we are today, that got us here. Here at Voyagers Path, our vision is to help build within teenagers and young adults the character and the mentality to better lead our world into a thriving and rewarding future. Our mission is to help those teenagers and young adults. Gonna get a little emotional with this one. To help those teenagers and young adults bridge the gap between their circumstances and a prosperous, thriving future. We aim to do that by showing them how to exercise discipline, how to cultivate wisdom, and how to build character. That's going to be supported by positive habits, good mentality, and healthy relationship building. And with that said, glad we made it. My name is Tony Drake, and I am your host. With me, I have Ahmed, a name so nice you have to say it twice. And Kevin Wynn, good friend of both of ours. And today, for our first guest ever, here's to hoping I can get through his long list of achievements. He was a former fireman, holds the Guinness World Record for youngest elect judge and justice of the peace. He graduated from Collin College magna cum laude. He was awarded USA Today's All-American All-Academic College Second Team, First Team Texas All-College Academic Team, officer of, you might have to help me out here, Phi Theta Kappa International Collegiate Honor Society, 600 continuing legal education hours through Texas State University, National Parliamentary Debate Association. Judge Payton attended Dallas Baptist University. Judge Payton has also been a member of Sunrise Rotary, Alan Kiwani's, Plano Lions, Collin County Republican Men's Club, North Texas Justice of the Peace and Constables Association past president, Texas Justice of the Peace and Constables Association District Director, Plano Chamber of Commerce, Board Chairman for the Morgan Foundation, Youth Mentoring Program Board Member, Advisory Board Member for City House, Collin County Young Republicans President, with 28 years in teen court programs. It is an honor and a privilege to have you on, Judge John Payton.
Well, thank you. Phi Theta Kappa, by the way.
Thank you.
I couldn't let you up. Sorry.
No, you couldn't.
I had to hold you.
Yeah.
But thank you, though. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, pleasure to have you here. And folks, we're going to get into the role this outstanding man has played in the development of this podcast. But I'm going to be a little selfish first and talk about me and who I am to give you a better idea of what I've been through and what I've learned. I'm 20 years old. I grew up in Garland, Texas. The life I grew up in, the household I was in, was hostile, dirty, messy, aggressive, and to cope with it, I learned to be very detached. I felt very alienated and didn't really get along too well with the people around me, at least at home. through school, I had an escape. Academics came easy. School was fairly simple. Friends were easy to get. I was likable, apparently. Um, and I just felt better away from home. Somewhere in fifth and sixth grade, my parents got divorced, which seems to be the normal for marriages these days. And summer of seventh grade, I moved in with my biological father, and basically had a new slate. And in eighth grade, I had what I guess you could call my first romantic relationship. It was a parasitic one. It was not healthy. Looking back on it now, I can say that in the moment I thought I was king of the world, thought I was going to marry her. And the relationship was solely based off of sex, and it didn't get me too far, because come high school, I was still with her, but started to be a little selfish and used her more as just a way to have sex, and that's what the relationship became, just sex. There was no intimacy. There's no real connection. And in high school, I started to smoke pot and started making bad connections and choices. And to say the least, I'm not going to drop the F-bomb just yet. I messed up a lot. So, one day in junior year of high school, my biological father, got remarried, and we relocated to California. My siblings, which I have a younger brother and an older sister, my new stepmom, and my new stepbrother, we moved out, found a place in Burbank, California, and I just smoked a lot of pot. Not gonna lie. There is so much to smoke out there, and that's really how I spent, I would say, at least 75% of my time. I even had two beanies. One was high Tony, and one was stoned Tony, and one was not stoned Tony. When I had long hair and a beanie. Mm-hmm. And eventually, my biological father and I had a dispute. I'm not going to get into it right now, but he kicked me out, and I was falling. It seemed that the world that I knew and established in Texas was already kind of hammered and smashed away, and I was trying to do something in California, and that again just got knocked off. And as I fell, I was rescued and caught by an outstanding man that we all here know, my dad, Calvin Drake. I say dad and not father because he has become just that to me. He's not tied to me by blood, but with him catching me and relocating me back to Texas, he instilled within me the principles he learned in life. And he is a former Marine, served in Desert Storm, had, I would say, close to 30 years worth of experience with handling and developing teenagers and young adults. And I don't have a list of his achievements and accomplishments, but he's got a lot under his belt that, as you two already know. Mm-hmm. And he caught me in the act of lying a lot, because I could just lie all the time with my old father. And through catching me and stopping me, I changed habits slowly and became who you see before you now, which, as I try to stay humble, I have to pat myself on the back and say, I've come pretty far away. Mm-hmm. So, with that out of the way, Ahmed, my friend, my good dear friend, would you like to tell the fellers about your life and what you've gone through?
Sure, I'd love to. So, as you probably heard, my name is Ahmed. A long story, but first name, last name, it's the same. But from my point of view, it's not really as dramatic as other people's life, like my friend Tony's over here, but it definitely does have its hardship. I'd say the biggest struggle for me is just growing up poor. That's definitely the biggest thing. And most of it is even though I was poor, I did have a pretty decent childhood. I had a pretty good family, and that was partially thanks to my mother and father. They're actually immigrants that came from Kurdistan, Iraq. They ran away during the war with Saddam Hussein, and after traveling from country to country, territory, they went from like Vietnam to Guam. They eventually ended up together and settled down in Texas. And I say settle down loosely because I'm going to say poor a lot, but we moved from apartment to apartment. And when I was born, having a child isn't exactly cheap. But
No, it's not.
Eventually they went from apartment until we settled down. And if we're being honest, for the longest time, I always thought it was normal. Because
Like moving from place to place?
No, I barely remember
being
that. I was a baby.
Okay, well, being poor?
Being poor, yes.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
you didn't really have a reference to
Yeah.
compare it. But, so for the most part, I thought, okay, well, I still thought that was normal, but I did know that they went through some stuff to get to the U.S. So I'm like, okay, well, how about I make it up to them by just being a good kid, trying to be a good kid, not always succeeding, but
Well, I'd say you out of the three of us here, you're probably the best.
I think
best
so
kid.
too.
Best kid.
But I focused in school, and it wasn't until later on that I realized, oh wait, I'm poor. Because like one example is like me helping out my mom at groceries, and I'm like, so what do you got there? It's like a different card, and she's like, oh, this is a card for food stamps, and I'm like, oh, we're like that. And yeah, it sort of was just like that. My whole family, just mostly me, if we're being honest, and my brothers, my two brothers, we were just having help from government aid, food stamps, free and reduced lunch, where you like the public school is obliged to give you some food, and Medicare or Medicaid. I know there's one for elderly, but it was just normal for me because it's like, live my life, go to school, eat,
nothing
come
to compare
home.
to. Yeah, except for the rich friends that
That have their own credit cards and debit cards at like
and a
fifth
car,
grade, for real. But since I was not as financially capable back then, I thought, you know what? How about I just focus on school and trying to succeed in that? Because in my eyes, I saw school as a opportunity to sort of succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought, oh, okay, well, I don't really want a job. And this was sort of a struggle for me because one part of me wanted to help out my family with the financial situation, but then the other part was like, okay, well, sometimes when you have too much on your hand, you can't focus on everything. So I thought, how about I just hold out for a job for a while until I graduate.
Buckle
So
down on school and stuff.
Focused on school. It also gave me the opportunity to go to a lot of extracurricular activities. I was in wrestling, which he introduced me to,
Yeah.
and mock trial, which was a law thing. Sort of just mock practice, I guess, but it was sort of just like a pretend courthouse where you'd have lawyers and witnesses, and that was just something I did. So
He's also cutting it short, folks. He was in 0 hour, and what was your GPA? Do you mind saying that?
It was pretty high.
Mine was like 2.4.
Like 3.9.
Almost a 4.0.
Yeah. And
Okay, well, 4.0 is perfect.
Yeah, you're like 3.9 is. That's
Okay,
pretty
well,
damn
That's a
good.
lot higher than mine.
Yeah.
I guess it's just me not trying to like be like, oh yeah, I'm the perfect
You're
guy.
the bomb.
Yeah, I'm the. I wouldn't say that. I definitely wouldn't say that. But yeah, 0 hour, whole bunch of activities. Me trying to keep up great grades. It was definitely a lot, but it just definitely actually helped me develop skills like multitasking, making sure everything is done on time, and eventually leadership level skills.
Yeah.
Because in both wrestling and mock trial, I actually became captains for both of them. And obviously those two are not the same thing, and they'd attract different people. So it also taught me that being a leader is different in different scenarios. So it was just me learning a bunch of fundamental skills until eventually I dislocated my leg. And that really bummed me out because, if you dislocate your leg, you have a higher chance to dislocate it again. my mom and dad were terrified for me because, you know, it's a huge injury.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, I want to do what I want. So I'm going to continue wrestling after, of course, physical therapy. And then I dislocated again.
Yeah.
So I had to stop wrestling, not quit wrestling because I still wanted to be involved and continue to be a captain. But, you know, even though it was awful that I couldn't wrestle anymore, it did give me the opportunity to focus even further on school and college
Mhm.
and eventually, you know, actually have a life of my
Yeah.
own.
Do what everyone else
Yeah,
does.
exactly. Like socialize.
Yeah.
But yeah, once college came around, it was really fun. I had I'm still in college, by the way, UTD, University of Texas at Dallas. I understand that there might be another UTD. I don't know.
Okay.
But it gave me a newfound experience. I finally got my own car. I finally got my own job. I
Oh,
got
yeah.
promoted in said
Uh-huh.
job because of my
To
leadership
a
skills.
leadership level.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get the leadership.
Build relationships, end relationships. A whole lot is going on.
You went to college and you became a human. You experienced things.
I wouldn't
that-
say human.
Well,
but,
I'd say you lacked a lot.
well, that implies that I wasn't human before.
Well, you lacked a lot of experiences that
That's fair.
a lot of people get
But
by being rebellious.
But you know, just sort of summing it up all out, it sort of just summarizes what my life was like too. You know, had a lot of experiences, not always good, some bad, and eventually it helped me build as a person and make me become a better person.
Good one. Good
Yeah.
job.
And that's pretty much everything I have to say about my life.
So, how about the religion aspect?
So, I guess because I had to talk to my parents about it, but I didn't always agree with a lot of the religious things that my family was, which was Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And I, not necessarily saying like me, oh, I am definitely not 100% one, because I was just unsure. And I needed to tell my family about it just because I don't like lying to my parents. And it was scary, to say the least, but I was fortunate enough to have parents that care for me and at least acknowledge me. And for right now, it was just one of those experiences that I mentioned earlier where,
Yeah.
you know, it was not a fun experience, but I'm glad it happened in the end because it helped build my relationship with my family and it just made me a more experienced person.
Yeah, and as this podcast rolls out, we'll dig into deeper concepts
Right.
and deeper things that we've all been through because there's a lot
Oh yeah,
that's what we've all
it's hard to summarize.
yeah
everything.
in this little bio time. But thank you for sharing and
problem.
did a good job. I would commend you, Kevin, my man Stan. Go ahead and let him have it. Tell the viewers who Kevin Wynn is.
My name is Kevin. I'm also aged 20. Like everyone else here, I've had to go through changes, challenging. I was born in Georgia.
When you were born in Georgia, if I were just to cut in real quick, with your parents, when did they get divorced?
My parents got divorced at a young age. I believe it was around 3,
Mhm.
I would say. After that, it kind of distanced the family a little bit. My mom wanted to move us, relocate us to Texas whenever I was around 11.
Uh-huh.
Whenever we were in Texas, my mom was rarely around. When she was verbally abusive, which wanted me to move out to my own place. Once I got my own place, you don't have parents around.
Yeah.
You're by yourself. You have a lot more freedom.
Mhm.
You don't really have restrictions that
Yep.
you would have when you live with your parents. With no restrictions, I had more access to alcohol, more access to pot.
Were you a heavy drinker?
A heavy drinker, I would want to say no, but a lot of
You'd-
people,
you'd
a
wanna
lot of
say-
other people would say a lot.
Others would
different.
disagree?
Others would disagree.
Okay.
With that, during that time, I was working at the hospital, valeting.
Ballet. Yeah.
My dad he hasn't really contacted me within the years of me living in Texas, but he messaged me one day, New Year's of 2018, saying that my grandma was sick and that I should go visit. To me, I didn't really I decided not to go because I felt like my grandma wasn't really a big part of my life.
She was like a stranger.
She was just she was just a stranger. I didn't really know her. It just didn't feel right going to see her.
Yeah. Taking the time and out to Georgia.
Yeah, out to Georgia. But then a month later, my aunt called me saying that my grandma has passed, and knowing that out of respect and still emotional to me, that I had to go see her. I have to because I wouldn't see her again. After the funeral, though, I came back to Texas. I was in a relationship. I had to end things just because things weren't going well.
Now, like things were just was she just a bad person, or is it just a you thing? Is it a classic like it's you, not me type?
It always felt like it was always a one-sided thing. It always felt like I was always doing everything for her. She was the world to me. So everything I did or have done was for her at the time. So
been there.
Relationships are tough. After that relationship, though, things didn't go well for me. It was pretty bad, you know. It was pretty depressing. Didn't want to leave the house. Just wanted to stay in, be selfish, and, like, you know, didn't think of others. Seclude myself. Everything around me reminded me of her. So, my thought process was I have to get out of Richardson. I have to get out of Texas. But then, so I remember my dad giving me an option to moving down to Georgia with him.
Yeah.
Once I moved down to Georgia, I lived with him maybe about 6 to 7 months. It was going fairly well until he got back. We disagreed on a bunch of stuff, just nonsense stuff, just like how much I game, where am I at, if I'm at work. He doesn't know if I'm at work or not. So he just ended up kicking me out. My aunt ended up telling me, saying, hey, you can come up live in Texas with me at my house until you get back on your feet. I was like, okay, that's a great opportunity, thank you. So once I got back to Texas, things were still a little rough with my father, my family, and stuff like that. I ended up meeting up with a friend, which is a mutual friend between me and Tony.
That's right. Yeah.
He told me a little bit about the Daisy stuff, and he introduced me to Calvin.
And real quick, Daisy stuff. What he's saying there, Daisy is an airsoft company that my dad is running, where it's distributing airsoft equipment, guns more so. And so that's what he means when he says Daisy.
Airsoft guns.
Airsoft guns.
Yeah.
Airsoft guns.
That's what Daisy means. Daisy equals airsoft guns. Yeah.
Once I met Calvin, I knew it was like, I can trust this guy. He's not like every other interview.
Pretty cool guy.
He helped me a lot. He showed me around, all around how to do Daisy stuff, how to maintenance the guns and stuff like that. Once I was doing that for a while, Tony came up to me, gave me a proposition of being a host on the podcast. Yeah. And so that's where I'm here now.
Cool.
Here you are now.
And here we are. So thank you, Kevin, for that. I know, folks, for those of you listening at home, Kevin, my boy, had a very, very hard time getting all that down. Very nervous, as he should be.
They didn't need to know that.
They did.
They didn't, you know that.
John, JP, you want to just call you JP? Is that cool?
Man, that's cool.
That's cool. You're
We
cool.
want to be chill.
We want to be chill.
Chill and cool.
So I know you didn't ask any questions or have anything coming up while we were talking about ourselves. Did you have any questions you want to say before?
No, not at all. Here's what I think, right? I think that a lot of people have relatable stories about their childhood, right? You know, today I was talking to a kid, and I looked at him. He's a senior, about to turn 18. And I said, you know, you've done great. You're back in school. You're taking care of your business. You're making good decisions. I said, now when you go out there, you're going to be on your own. And all you've got is your small circle of family. And your mom's a part of that. Now you got to decide what kind of relationship you want as an adult with your mom. Parents aren't perfect. You're not perfect. But it's that goal of, I love you and I will always love you, but no, I'm going to make mistakes and I'm not afraid to say I'm sorry. That's what gets us by, right? And his mom was. And a lot of adults aren't. And that's where we end up, right? I mean, I myself have a horribly rough childhood. And, that'll be revealed on another show that I'm co-hosting with the host Leon Chastain on the Heart and Soul of Texas Men. And so it's so cool that you guys aren't afraid to relate.
Yeah.
And so I have no questions. I was enjoying the conversation.
Cool. Just make sure I didn't want to seclude you.
No.
Well, with the slight look behind the curtain as to who we are, I am going to tell you just a bit about the origin of how this podcast came to be. So bear with me. Whenever Calvin, my dad, who he's going to ring me up if I keep saying Calvin and not Dad, when my dad started to become an influence in my life, I knew that I wanted to change and started to change. Obviously, that's how I got here. He said something to me that impacted me on a very large scale. He said that life is about serving mankind. That life is fulfilled when you help your fellow man. And with that in mind, I took a look at my life and how I was developing then, and I looked at to how I want my kids to grow up. Because he did what should have been done a very long time ago, early into my life, which was instill solid principles and foundations, some of which that he learned at war. But also, he was probably just born awesome, honestly.
Probably.
Probably just like had that already ingrained. So that should have been how I was raised. But he fast-tracked me and went through what someone called Calvin Camp, which was pretty fitting. And I thought to myself, how do I want to teach these same principles and foundations that I'm living by and instilling into my life right now? So one of my more influential people in my life, Jocko Willink, he's got his own podcast, former Navy SEAL. He's a lot about leadership and discipline and development. He has some great principles and foundations that he has established through war. And on one of his podcasts, he made a joke and said, when I was 19, I didn't sit down and write the principles and foundations of Jocko Willink. I was 19 and I heard that and I was like, I kind of want to do that. And so I did. I would take my dog Bear, who maybe you guys will meet one day, out on walks every night after I heard that, and would think about how I changed and what started the change, what principles I've adopted and solidified into my life. And I'd get home, sit down, start to write. And I would write them kind of sloppy, but I'd have my dad double check them, make sure I'm not grammatically inclined by any means. As we know, I got a 2.4 GPA. So
that's pretty high.
So as I was writing these entries, I thought, okay, this is great stuff. My dad likes it, I like it, and I'm going to pass this stuff down from my kids, their kids, and have it in the family. But something hit me one day, and I remembered what my dad said: serving mankind, being a server. And I thought, well, I'm sure there's another young man or woman out there who's been through something similar to what I've been through. And I'm sure they could use these same principles that they don't know about, because I didn't know about them. I was doing my own thing, and I was living it up Tony way. And little did I know, I was really messing some stuff up. So if I could give these principles out to someone and change their life, I thought I should do that. So I was set on maybe making a book and having that book be published. But one day I watched this show, Midnight Gospel, and it's someone animated a podcast, essentially. And I thought about podcasts. Thought about how easy it is to make a podcast, how attainable that is, and how everyone's kind of doing it. So, started having that incubate inside my noggin here. And as I was thinking, those walks with Bear turned into interviews. My internal dialogue turned into me being interviewed, kind of like on a podcast or just any old interview. And as I went through, I decided that this is definitely something we're going to do. Definitely making a podcast. I'm going to be bigger than Joe Rogan. I'm going to be the biggest podcast ever. I'm set to do it. So I started gathering my tools the best I could, and started having meetings with a possible co-host and my dad. My dad being a former businessman, he had a lot of experience and a lot of practice. He helped kind of guide me and say, hey, think about this, think about that. Make sure you say it this way and think about it this way, and help me reflect on a lot of things and make sure that I make something worth making. Mm. So, one day, my dad reached out to a former connection he had who he made through this military organization that held an entrepreneur program. And this contact he reached out to, he knew was going into radio. And he reached out to this man, and his name is Major Andrew White. And he's got his very own show called Kilroy Conversations, shout out, on JP, Kathy and the Crew Network. And he put my dad in touch with Kathy, another network head. And I forgot to say that JP is, I forgot to give you the spotlight there. JP is a network head over at JP Kathy and Crew Network, which is where we're at. So support,
yeah. So Kathy and I are the founders.
Kathy and
of JPK Broadcasting
JPK
Network.
Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, we have the show JP Kathy and the Crew.
Yep.
And we love having you guys on the network. So,
yeah.
And the spotlight's not about me. I'm just a little old engineer that's going to get interviewed tonight.
Little engineer.
So the spotlight's on you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any hoodles, reached out. She loved the show, the idea, so we sat down with JP and Kathy, and they were stoked. They really loved it, and as you guys both know, they have done their fair share of work and legwork to get us to where we're at today. So, with that said, JP.
Yes, sir.
We're going to start talking about you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love that topic.
Okay. Maybe we won't.
You might not want to, because I love that topic.
A little cocky. Okay. So I have a few questions down here for you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've answered these a few times, but this is to help give an idea to the viewers of what's inside your brain, which we might not want to know.
Hey, I've seen some interesting stuff.
Okay. So first question. What benefit are you hoping teens and young adults will be receiving? That might have been worded wrong. What benefit are you hoping teens and young adults will receive from this podcast?
You know, I think I came up with a really nice coined phrase in our pre-production tonight.
You did.
And that is
you
your David Copperfields, you know? And for those of you, well, that was a different coined phrase. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know who David Copperfield was, one of the greatest illusionists in the world. And you guys are pulling back the curtain and showing the magic. And that magic is all of the at-risk teens out there, what they go through, what they think about when they're encountering an adult in the middle of whatever crisis it is they have. You know, and I'm hoping that adults, what I'm really hoping comes out of this is that educators, counselors, principals, assistant principals, parents, kids will watch this and go, you know what? They're right on. And I didn't know that. And my approach was this. And sometimes it would work. Sometimes it wouldn't. And now I know why it wouldn't, because I was pushing all the wrong buttons. Mm-hmm. And you guys are going to reveal to everybody in different scenarios throughout your lives and other at-risk kids that have gone, at-risk kids that are now adults, what it is that made them do what they did and how an adult pushed them a certain way because that adult didn't remove themselves from the moment and think from your perspective. And I'm hoping that's what you teach everybody.
We're hoping to
Life
deliver.
changing.
Yeah.
Hey, this is life changing.
Life changing. This is life changing for us. I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, definitely.
not gonna leave that out. That's definitely a fact. Before we go any further, what's the time check? Don't wanna.
Oh, you're good.
We're good.
Yeah, you've been on for about an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay, cool. Just make sure.
You're 36
Want to
minutes.
hit that 2-minute mark.
You're at 36 minutes.
Okay. So next question. In your life, what was a turning point that helped you become the man you are today?
I tell you, a big part, there's a lot of those moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are faced with so many decisions as kids because we want to break away and we want to make our own decisions. And when we feel rejected or we feel not listened to or we get hurt or we feel hurt, we have a tendency to want to really break away.
Mm-hmm.
And it generally encounters way bad decisions. And I say we because I experienced the same thing. Biggest difference in my life, biggest difference, was when my mom met my dad. That was the biggest difference. This man made a huge change in my life. My sister and I had to beg my mother for like 8 years before she would marry him because she just wasn't going to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
And then what came with that was his brothers and sisters and my grandma and grandpa and being able to work on a farm and haul hay with my grandfather and my uncle. And then my Uncle Monty made a huge difference in my life. So there's so many difference makers. 7th grade, Coach Saito and Coach Pasquale made a huge difference in my life. Because there are those moments where one decision can derail a whole lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you can't get it back on, because you can.
Yeah.
But then there are those people that, and again, I believe in God. So I say that God puts in my way. And not everybody's faith is that way. I get it. But for me, it is. And so put Coach Saito in my life in 7th grade. Put Coach Pasquale in my life in 7th grade. Another huge difference maker in my life would have been my debate coach in California. I mean, Doug made a huge difference in my life, changed patterns for me, right? But it was the love of a mother who had gone through everything that she went through to protect 2 kids and was not afraid and didn't let ego get in her way to make sure that her 2 children, no matter how poor we were, understood the 3 basic rules of life. And her 3 basic rules were, you will respect your elders and yourselves. Number 2, you will walk out of my house clean and fed every day. And number 3, you will get an education. And if you can live by those 3 rules, dude, your life will stay on track because you're focused. And my mother, boy, she wore out the leather on my backside plenty of times. She wasn't illegal. She didn't beat me to death. An appropriate spanking, well-deserved, let me just tell you.
Well deserved. Amen.
It took a strong-handed mom to be able to keep me where I was at and to make me who I am today. And then a level-headed dad who got me here. So, but again, it's just different people in your lives,
Yeah, different influences.
Yeah.
Different angles.
At different times. Huge differences.
Do you have an influencer right now going on in your life besides me?
I would say that it's come back around after Tony. It's Kevin and Ahmed.
Oh,
No,
Step it up.
stepping it up. No, it's. I would say it's come full circle. It's my dad again.
Nice.
And we lost my mom 3 years ago, and she was a huge part of who I am and the struggle that she went through for me to become who I am, and my sister, and then my dad standing by 2 kids that weren't his and took them on as if they were his. And so now it's time for me to take care of him when my mom died. And so I'd say that probably he is my biggest influencer right now.
Yeah.
Because I have a chance to repay what he gave to me, which was selflessness. So, I mean, it kills me. So, yeah. So I think that would be the answer.
That is why you are an extraordinary human being, JP. No doubt about it. Thank you for sharing that. A lot. So, you already hit on the 3 things your mother instilled in you. What were they? Making sure that you always leave clean and fed.
Yeah, never leave
respecting
my
your
house
elders.
dirty.
Yeah.
Her thing was, you don't have to be rich to be clean and have
Yeah.
clean clothes. And you will walk out of my house clean and you will be fed.
I didn't. I used to walk out of my house with like the gator skin black elbows. There used to be a time where I could not get in the shower, never be clean, never nothing. But with those 3 principles, would you say that could be applied to just about anyone and everyone? And do you think it would have a good impact in their life?
Oh, goodness gracious, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because what does walking out the door clean with clean clothes and your belly fed, what does that do for your psyche
It's a
when you
mental
walk
win.
out? Yeah, it's a mental win, right? You walk out the door ready to face life. It wasn't about being clean. It wasn't about being fed.
Mm-hmm.
It's what that did for you here
Mm-hmm.
when you walked out her front door, right? And of course, her other thing was, you represent me, and so you're going to represent me the right way, right? And so, but it was walking out the door knowing I was clean. I wasn't ashamed of how I smelled. You know, I wasn't hungry, so my mind wasn't, when you're hungry, your mind does things to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it does things to you. And so that's why it's so important that when you've got a single mom with kids, if you can help them out with groceries so that mom can focus on finding another job,
Yeah.
you know, finding a second job, because that mom, all she's focused on is, how do I feed my kids?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of making herself better, or that single dad making himself better, right? Or that family. And so there's such a huge life psyche impact that comes from walking out a door clean and fed. You will respect your elders and yourself. I mean, if you can walk out the door and understand that concept, then you don't have issues.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because anybody you come across, you'll be able to remove yourself from the situation to respect them. You know, it's so funny. One of the things, and I make people just laugh and crack up with this until they realize, oh, he's serious, actually. They're like, oh. Because I would say, I don't judge people. And they're like, you're hilarious. You were a judge for 28
Yeah.
years. You know, and I didn't judge people. I judged the evidence.
Yeah.
And so because I didn't judge people, I had a good reputation. People trusted me. People would come to me. They still do, because I don't judge them. Life is life, man. And what's that come from? That comes from respecting them, because you don't know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what they've gone through, what they're walking through right now. And so you've got to take away from yourself and your ego and what you think is right, and step back and understand them from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's respecting yourself. Being able to say, hey, you know what? I respect myself enough to not impose on them respecting them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a win.
Yeah.
You know, that people become your friends, right? You start influencing people like
Do.
And then, you know, number 3, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right, fellas?
Oh, yeah.
Get
Whoa,
educated.
Hold on. Oh, I was going to test on
You
that.
said it before.
Get educated. No, he knew. He responded too quick. He knew.
No, he responded too quick. He
No,
didn't
he
listen.
knew.
Too
He just
quick.
didn't
I give him the
listen.
power.
Silly.
I give him the power. It's education. Nobody can take away your education.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Oh, goodness
High
gracious. In high school?
High school.
So I loved school. Why did
Yeah.
I love school?
'Cause you're a
it kept me out of home.
Same thing with you.
It kept me out of the
Look
house.
at there.
You know, why was I so involved in school?
Mm-hmm.
I was involved in everything. Football, wrestling, speech and debate.
Wrestling?
FBLA. Oh,
That got
yeah.
my attention.
Yeah,
Wow.
tore my cartilage. No, I tore my cartilage wrestling
Jeez.
in the state championship.
State champs.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't.
no, I wasn't because I
Oh, okay.
tore my cartilage.
Oh, okay. It's like, no.
Yeah. What's funny is I taped it up, and we got back out on the mat, and as soon as I went down and I was starting to pull out and try to run out of him, he brought me back down on that knee, and it was done.
Oh.
I couldn't wrestle.
What was your weight class?
145.
145.
145, 147, I
That
think,
was
towards the
deep.
end of the year.
That was my weight class.
I was I like 160. I'm 200 right, 200 pounds right now, but I was like 160.
Man, you let yourself go.
But yeah, I love wrestling. Sorry, I didn't mean to
No, that's right.
derail that. But
So, but wrestling, soccer, baseball,
yeah.
swimming, student government, leadership classes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the coolest things in my life was when I was in 8th grade, one of my teachers who thought a lot of me sent off a resume to Stanford University.
Wow.
And Stanford University did a high school only leadership camp for kids interested in government and running for office and things like that.
Yeah.
Told Stanford University's proctors what was going on with me. At the time anyways, I was the only 8th grader ever invited to this high school program in Palo Alto, California. It's cool.
Pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. And so
Did you go and attend this leadership?
I did. Oh, heck yeah, I did.
Okay.
Are you kidding? Proctor
I'd
or my
make
sponsor went with me. It was really cool. My point in all of that is that I made myself so busy that I never had to be home.
Yeah.
And so I loved every subject in school. What didn't I love in school? Because to me it was just not fun, was math.
Math?
I was good at it. Now, my dad, genius when it comes to math. In fact, he had already finished out all the way through AP Calculus by his sophomore year in high school and was at Fresno State his last 2 years of math, taking like quantum something, math something, linear equations, and all kinds of crazy stuff. But my favorite subjects are English and histories and communications.
Can I add something onto the history?
Yeah.
With history, a lot of people, my favorite subject was history, and history just was very easy in my experience. But with history, did you ever see the significance of reiterating or overlooking and reviewing what the lessons in history are hiding? I worded that very poorly.
Yeah, you did. Way bad.
I'll just, let me
that contradicted itself. That's
let's
all right,
scratch
fellas.
that out of
Season 1,
existence.
episode 1. We're doing it.
I think I have the answer for that.
You answer to what?
To the So
So,
the reason why I think history is important was because it's so we don't have to remake the situation.
I was trying to get that out there somewhere.
tried.
But thank you, Kevin. Thank you for being the better Tony. Thank you very much.
History is vital
Yeah.
to who we are. Does it determine who we are? No. But history teaches us where we came from and where we don't want to go back to.
Yep.
And when we start eradicating history, that becomes a problem. And that's when you start moving towards other forms of government away from where you're at, because people forget. Because that's the way you get people to forget, is you eradicate history. So generations, a generation, will never grow up with Confederate statues.
Yeah.
You can't go to Vicksburg, which I still don't understand this. The Vicksburg battlefield, all the Confederate flags are gone. Why? It was a battlefield. It was a part of our history.
Yeah.
Why would you remove the flags? That doesn't make any sense to me. And so as we eradicate, and it's funny, the people leading these charges, Black Lives Matter. And it's like, wouldn't you want people not to forget?
What happened there?
Yeah. Wouldn't you want them to remember so that they don't ever
Have to go through.
allow it to come back around again?
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't make any sense to me. And so the eradication of history, which is kind of an answer to your question as well.
The very poorly worded question?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
Kevin caught you back.
He caught me back. Well,
It's an illness. It's a disease. And so history is vital. We have got to preserve our history.
I feel like there's a difference with remembering history and glorifying history, because you can have like Nazis, Confederates, flags, and stuff like that, but you just don't have to glorify it. It's important to remember it
Agreed.
and learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't think having at a battlefield where Union soldiers and Confederate soldiers fought, having flags on different parts of that battlefield.
Yeah.
That's not glorification. You know, it's a fact. This is what happened here at this point. So yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah. With all that said, man, I'm still. Forgive me. I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
Mind if I actually ask a question?
Oh my God! Please, please,
thought
both
you
of
were
you.
gonna
I
get
was
mad
about,
at me.
both of you. If you I forgot to ask. Yeah, excuse me for being selfish.
It's your
Please
show.
let me
yeah.
tuck my ego away. Ahmed and Kevin, do you have any questions for the man?
First of all, do you have any questions?
I do not have any
What a
questions.
nice
Okay.
guy.
I guess one question I'd have for you is, because I know the biggest thing, the biggest struggle for not even just at youth teens, just like growing adults, especially like people around my age, like a bunch of my friends, a bunch of people in college and people growing right now. The biggest thing is like, am I making the right decision? And I guess my question to you is, have you ever felt like a little bit unsure about the direction your life is heading and if you're making the right decisions?
So let me answer that seriously first, and then I'll come back with a joke.
Good.
Okay. Sure. You absolutely will go through your life wondering, did I make the right decision sometimes? If you don't question yourself, I'm kind of wondering about you, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's
Oh,
what we
yeah.
call narcissism, right? Even possibly sociopathic behavior.
Yeah.
And so we want you to question your decisions so you make good decisions. My mother always had a saying about fear. She would tell me, John, don't be afraid to have a little fear. A little fear is what keeps you sharp. If you have no fear, then you're reckless because you don't understand boundaries. If you've got a moderate level of fear, that fear will keep you sharp, keep you looking at it, but won't stop you from moving forward. And if you allow fear to overcome you, then you will stop growing altogether. And so that's part of it, right? It's that questioning, did I make the right decision? I'm afraid I may not have made, there's that word, right? Afraid, right? I'm afraid I may not have made the right decision. You know what? I think I did all right with that. That afraid didn't control your decision. Is there ever a wrong decision? No, because there's always an opportunity to learn. Because without making the wrong decision sometimes, you don't know that until you learn from it. And then is it really a wrong decision, or did you learn something about yourself and about others, right?
Yeah, there's a good quote. I never win, or I never lose. I either win or learn. It's a pretty solid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have other decisions you make, like on getting married.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, wait till you're 30,
Wait
40
till
years old.
30, 40?
Yeah, wait till you're 30,
Sorry,
40.
man.
Made some bad
Wedding's
decisions
canceled.
there. Dude, wow. Be
That's a
careful. Know who you're marrying. That's a joke,
no,
by the way.
No doubt.
Because you're
I-
young guys. I'm
amen.
trying to help you out here.
Well, I've made that decision.
From a guy that's made the mistakes.
I've made
So,
that
yeah.
decision quite-
But I hope that answers the question.
Oh, yeah, it
I mean,
definitely
I don't know that there's a wrong decision. I mean, it may be wrong for you at that moment, but if you learn from it, there's so much you can gain, so much knowledge you can pick up from misstepping. And then what do you do now? You might change somebody's life.
Yeah, for sure. That's how
Yeah.
I got here.
Oh,
That's damn sure. So if you still no questions?
No questions.
Okay. I am just going to take the time to say a few things, and I'll let you leave off with a message, and I'm going to leave the viewers with a message of my own. But I wanted to tell the viewers that the future of this podcast, we're going to continue to dive into topics that are tough, topics that you might not have even stopped and thought about. So anytime you see me or Ahmed or Kevin out there in the world, which very soon we're going to be more famous than Joe Rogan, just prepare yourselves. Anytime you see us out there, and this is, even if you're watching this 5 years in the future, stop us, ask us questions. You can find us on this network, JPK Broadcasting Network, right?
JPK Broadcasting Network.
JPK Broadcasting Network.
At jpkcrew.com.
At jpkcrew.com.
Should have known this already.
I know, I'm so bad. But you'll also be able to find us on YouTube, on Spotify, and other streaming services.
Twitch.
Twitch?
Yeah.
Twitch?
Right now you're running to Twitch.
Awesome.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Liar.
No, that's where I record down so I can pull it off and I've also got you. Well, I've got you in YouTube, but we're off the air on YouTube.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, that's where I download too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dope. Well,
you're
look
already
at
on
you.
Twitch, baby.
Look at that, baby.
We're already there.
And I'm looking at my dad for confirmation. We have the website up. I mean, we're not doing this till Friday, but will it be up by Friday? Okay. We also have an Instagram at Voyagers Path. I believe that's it, at Voyagers Path. And same thing with Twitter, at Voyagers Path. So go on there, follow us, ask us questions, and in future episodes we will be all over them and answering them as we go along. So with that said, before we pass the spotlight back to JT, do you guys have anything to say?
Do you?
I do not.
Okay. Ahmed?
I'm in.
No? Good. Great.
Okay.
So,
Are
go
you
ahead.
actually asking me?
yeah, do you have anything to add or say before we wrap up here?
I'd say for the most part, Tony pretty much went over a lot of the things that we're going to do in the future. And it might be susceptible to change, but for the most part, we're just trying to make an impact to just the viewers. We just want to make sure that you can take something from us and hopefully take something in the future.
The website, thank you, Dad, for looking out. The website, which I didn't even say, voyagerspath.us. That is where you can find the website. And I believe that just about wraps up anything else other than the great, awesome Judge John Payton. The message you would like to leave for the viewers. On you, go.
Well, it's a big task, right? Because there are so many messages out there, right?
There are.
But I'm gonna go back to, and this is gonna kill you because it's not gonna give you what you want. But I'm gonna go back to what my message is for 2020, and this applies to everybody. And if you're an at-risk kid watching this, if you're a counselor watching this, if you're a principal watching this, this is the message I want you to look to when you talk to each other. And that word, it's a word, is charity.
Charity, I remember that.
2020 has become so dislocated, so disfragmented. It's laid so heavy on so many families, so many small businesses that it can easily swallow us up into a hole that we can't get out of. And we've got to we've got to hold on to that rope called charity and pull ourselves back up. Because one of the things that makes me feel better than anything in the world is being able to pass something on or help somebody out. And so when I speak of charity, I speak of how you approach other humans in both heart and soul. Go out there, share a piece of you. Help somebody grab that rope of charity here in 2020. Because it sure could easily have been a year of despair. And it really doesn't have to be that way. And so if I leave you with a message at all, as you finish 2020, as you get ready to move forward, remember to be charitable with your heart and your soul, because there are a lot of people out there that could use the charity this year.
That was beautifully spoken. I think that's the saying.
And I did want to leave this with this. For those of you who are watching, first show out, you guys are brave, you're courageous, and the things you're getting ready to talk about, I'm telling you, you will change lives. And I know that you're going to dig deeper in Season 1, Episode 2, Season 1, Episode 3, where you truly start pulling back that curtain and letting people see what an at-risk kid feels like and looks like and how to talk to them, how to approach them, sometimes not saying anything at all, but maybe a little hug on the side or just a look of acknowledgement will make a difference. And so I tip my hats to you guys.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud for you. And I can't wait for the knowledge that all these principals, teachers, counselors, parents, and other at-risk kids are going to get from your revealing of yourselves and others and what they had to go through. So God bless you guys.
God bless you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And to bounce off of that, we will be having weekly shows as best as we can, just to give you an idea of our future episodes. We will have guests on here and there, but it's going to be mainly us three here talking about life and how to get through it. So I am going to read this. And this is something I put together when thinking about the message I wanted the viewers to take home from my own point of view, my own perspective. Is this a good? Does it sound good? Can you hear me from this?
Man, you're good.
All right. Good deal. So, you can always change. That is the constant of life. It is never too late to make up for lost time, nor is it too late to get up. In all things, there lies a gray area, so no one thing fits all. Yet all may attempt to find their path upon which victory, freedom, and prosperity await. Life will supply positives and negatives. You must be willing and able to venture forward in order to pass through the storm. The storm that I speak of is fabricated through the thoughts that cloud your vision, the thunder that makes you tremble, the sudden lightning strikes that demand your attention lest it strike you down, and the cold rain that reminds you of your vulnerability. We all suffer. That is the truth of life. What you do with the pain of your suffering is up to you. I say let it fuel you. Let it burn within you the fire that you shall rise out of like a phoenix, reborn and new. You must be forever growing and adapting to the world you are in, for it changes and it is unforgiving. Little can be done to stop what comes. However, you must be willing to do all if you wish to stop your own descent into the very depths awaiting the vile, malevolent souls who fall prey to their own ego. I have been asked if people change. I have been asked, why are we living? I have even posed the question, why not end it all? Not because I was sad. Not because I had unresolved issues. Simply put, I was trying to find the weight my life had. The answer was so very little. So I decided that if I were to live, I would do a damn good job at it. Though I still fail, I still waste my life at times. I still trip and fall on my face, and at those times the world appears to be falling with me, and all I was carrying crashes to the floor. I have picked up shattered pieces off the ground more times than I would care to admit. Yet I still move. I still cradle the shards in my bare hands, for life carries onwards. And I learn from each misstep, each fall, and each scar that I earn. After all the layers I have shed, remnants of who I used to be still remain. Although I am still in the process, I am sure to remove my old self and habits from my future, as if it were a starved leech. Yet no specialty will be awarded to me, for many others have done the same. The important thing is that any man or woman may do the same, which means you can do it too. The world around you may be breaking. The support beams in your life might be decaying, and you yourself might be rotting. But I ask of you one favor. You who have seen torment, you who have felt betrayal, you who have endured the very affliction within, and you who have been roped in by the neck to follow the masses. Do not give in. Do not head towards the cliff where sheep are sure to fall and follow one by one to the deaths, as sheep are known to do. Venture forward. Climb the mountain. Cut down the branches and vines before you, and discover your path. As my dad helped me discover my map and compass, I'm here to help you discover your own. We will find our way together, for I am no better than you, and I have much to learn. So learn with me, trek onwards with me, and together we will arrive at a destination unimaginable. Together we will walk, run, climb, and drag one another through whatever is to come on this Voyagers Path. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. Thank you those who spent the time to watch, and I hope took something home from this. I'd hope you... look, messed it up. There we go.
First episode.
Ruined the whole vibe. I hope you take something home, though. And I hope tomorrow you start becoming a better you. All you have to do is be better than who you were yesterday. And then you know you're heading down the Voyagers Path. Yeah. I think that's okay.